Good morning, everyone. Good morning. The July 1st, 2026 Land Use and Sustainability Committee meeting will come to order. It's 9:40 a.m. I'm Eddie Lynn, Chair of the Land Use and Sustainability Committee. Will the committee clerk please call the roll?
Vice Chair Strauss. Here. Councilmember Foster.
Here.
Council President Hollingsworth.
Present.
Councilmember Rink.
Present.
Chair Lynn.
Present.
Chair, there are 5 members present.
Okay, if there's no objection, the agenda will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the agenda is adopted. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming to this Wednesday morning meeting to discuss land use. As always, thank you to our city clerks, council central staff, mayor's office, and SDCI for helping us prepare for this meeting. Just to give everybody sort of a quick run of show, we were going to start with public comment on the agenda items, which include temporary design review. There will not be any votes on the temporary design review legislation today. We also have some appointments that we're going to do, and then we will do the public hearing on the SEPA bill. Just want to give that run of show. So we'll start with a public comment on the agenda. We'll do the public hearing later. Colleagues, I'm going to ask that we suspend the rules to limit public comment on the design review and the agenda to 1 minute so that we have sufficient time later in the agenda during the public hearing to hear all of the speakers, which we have quite a few in person and quite a few online. We do have some hard stop at some point, and so we're hoping to get through all the public comments or the public hearing. If not, it sounds like we might need to continue to a future date. There will be no votes today on the SEPA bill, so just want to let people know about that. Okay, so let's get going. We will now open the hybrid public comment period. Public comment should relate to items on the agenda or items within the purview of the committee. Any comments relating to item 7, Council Bill 121215, which is a SEPA bill, should be held until the public hearing. Clerk, how many speakers are signed up today for public comment?
Currently, we have 2 in-person speakers signed up and 5 remote.
2 and 5 remote. Okay. Again, colleagues, without objection, I'd like to suspend the rules to limit the public comment to 1 minute each for each speaker. Hearing no objection, we will limit it to 1 minute per person. Clerk, can you please read the public comment instructions?
The public comment period will be moderated in the following manner. The public comment period is up to 60 minutes. Speakers will be called in the order in which they're registered. In-person speakers will be called first, after which we'll move to remote speakers until the public comment period is ended. Speakers will hear a time when 10 seconds are left of their time. Speakers' mics will be muted if they do not end their comments within the allotted time to allow us to call on the next speaker. The public comment period is now open, and we will begin with the first speaker on the list. That is Julie Holland.
Any mic, yes. And just please speak directly into the mic. Thank you so much.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for this opportunity. I am Julie Holland, District 7, past president of the South Lake Union Community Council and member of the citywide Design Review Reboot Coalition. Coalition members represent a robust cross-section of professionals, residents, and organizations who embrace the current opportunity presented by the new comp plan to get it right, or in the words of the new legislation, to adopt prompt, coordinated, and objective review and ensure accountability to applicants and the public. The coalition is asking for a seat at the table to help ensure efficiency and public participation. They are not mutually exclusive. The public voice is an invaluable asset. It is the buyer that determines and dictates success. In this case, the buyer is the resident and the leasee. Let's get it right. Let's make the comp plan work together as willing partners to perfect Seattle's design review process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Steve.
We need a better Seattle. And you, unfortunately, are not bringing that forward at this moment. As we take a look at citizen participation, bad. Developers, good. Let's take a look where design review came from. Design review was part of the compromise that brought about the urban centers. And all the things the developers want, you have not only kept, but given more. And the citizens, those people, those scourges upon developers, we're throwing them out. And what did we get for it? Low-cost housing. Look, as you one by one pull off the public comments, how the price of housing has gone down. I say, no, the price of housing has gone up, and the quality has actually gone down. Neighborhoods suffer. People suffer.
Thank you.
We will now move on to our remote speakers. First up is Megan Cruz.
Good morning. I'm Megan Cruz of District 7 and a member of the Design Review Reboot Coalition. I'm speaking on the bill to extend the design review moratorium while a new process is put in place. Design review is the public's lifeline for information about what's being built in their neighborhoods. Our coalition consists of community groups and individuals across Seattle. We support increased density, and we believe that design review is critical for its success. Our goals are simple. Create a process that's efficient and accountable to both applicants and the public. Give citizen groups like ours a seat at the advisory table to shape the process. And then update land use codes and design criteria to promote well-designed buildings and livable neighborhoods. So far, the public has been on the outside looking in with this process. We all deserve a voice in creating a bigger battle. Diverse input creates stronger solutions that benefit everyone. Please, today, take time to address this in your discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Jeannie Hueving. Jean, excellent.
Okay, I am Jean Hubing. I'm a professor at the University of Washington, and I live in the Gasworks Park neighborhood area. I understand that citizens' right to appeal environmental issues in their own neighborhood
Jean,
might be rescinded by the
hold on one
council.
second.
Yes.
That public comment on the environmental impact statement will be later. There's a public hearing that you can still sign up for. So this is for the design review section.
Okay, I understand. The instructions were difficult, so I need to completely go back in and redo them.
Okay, we will move on.
You know, I had a hard, okay, I will try it again. I thought I was signing up for the issue with the environment. So what is it called?
Thank you. We're going to move on to our next.
That is there an email that she could send to get signed up, or maybe connect her with Stephanie?
Yeah.
Jean, we'll get you signed up for the other public hearing, which will be probably in about 20 minutes.
Thank you.
So, okay, thank you.
Next up, we have Valerie Heidi. Valerie, please press *6. Valerie, please press *6. Okay, we'll come back to you, Valerie. Next up, we have Keith Rohrbach. A reminder that this should be regarding design review.
Hello, I heard what you said about Council Bill 121215, and I will hold my comments until later.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Valerie, if you are here, please press *6. Valerie Heidi Mudra.
Hello, this is Valerie Heidi Mudra, 30-year resident of Belltown and a member of the Design Reboot Committee. I want to express my support for an updated design review that will include the perspective of all stakeholders, developers, architects, neighborhood groups, residents. Over the years, I have participated in design review, and I think the process is important for neighborhoods, the involvement of the community. The city and our neighborhoods have to live with these projects on a daily basis while the developers move on to other projects. So it is important that projects be completed without unnecessary delay, but in consideration of things that make a city great, livable, like buildings that provide air and light, walkable sidewalks, and green space. The community brings this perspective. I respectfully request that we be involved in the redesign of the design review and would hope that the council would ensure that we have a seat at the table. Thank you very much for listening to these comments.
Thank you.
We have one additional in-person speaker, and that is Jonathan Warren.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
That concludes our registered speakers.
Okay, thank you so much. We will now move on to our first items of business. Will the clerk please read agenda items 1 through 6?
Agenda items 1 through 6, appointments 3536 through 3541, appointments of TJ Stutman, Amir Essay, Haley P. Karcher, Patrick W. Taylor, and reappointments of P. Jomera Alvarez and Andrew L. Dannenberg as members, Seattle Planning Commission, all for terms to April 15th, 2029, for briefing, discussion, and possible vote.
Thank you. Will you please introduce yourselves? And yeah.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having us here this morning. My name is Vanessa Murdoch. I'm the Executive Director of the Seattle Planning Commission. Seattle Planning Commission is an independent advisory body to this body, City Council, the Mayor, and city departments on issues related to housing, land use, and transportation. I'm pleased to turn it over to our 4 recommended appointees, and then for them to briefly introduce themselves, and then happy to answer any questions. And I'll turn it over to Patrick.
Hi, my name is Patrick Taylor. Longtime Seattle resident. In my day job, I work in an architecture firm designing all forms of housing, and I live in North Beacon Hill with my wife and 2 young children.
Good morning, I'm TJ Stutman. I'm a resident of Holler Lake in District 5. My day job, I work right down the street in Executive Zahalai's budget office, and I'm delighted to join the Planning Commission and work for present and future citizens of Seattle.
Thank you.
We also have 2 individuals on the line, I believe Haley and Amir. Haley, would you please go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Haley Karcher. I'm an enrollment and planning analyst for Seattle Public Schools and former public school teacher, proud resident of Columbia City in District 2, and honored by the opportunity to serve on the Seattle Planning Commission and contribute to making Seattle an affordable place for working families.
Thank you, Haley. Amir?
Good morning, Chair Lynn and council members. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. My name is Amir Isai. I'm a civil and environmental engineer with 16 years of experience leading infrastructure, sustainability, and climate initiatives across public and private sectors. And what I hope to bring to the Planning Commission is a practical implementation perspective, helping connect Seattle's long-term planning goals with what can actually be built and delivered.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Vanessa. Thank you to all our applicants for the Planning Commission. Thank you, TJ, Amir, Haley, and Patrick. Really value your service, your willingness to step up into this position and to serve this critical role for the city. As you heard probably earlier, we do have quite a few public commenters for a public hearing, and so we are limited in time. I would love to spend more time kind of getting to know you better and for the public to get to know you better and to have questions. And certainly, colleagues, if you do have any questions or comments, I welcome them now. No, okay. Seeing no questions or comments, again, I really appreciate you being here today for our folks online as well, and really appreciate you stepping up. I move that the committee recommend confirmation of appointments 3536 through 3541. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it is moved and seconded to recommend confirmation of the appointments. Any final comments? I don't see any. Will the clerk please call the roll on the recommendation to confirm the appointments?
Vice Chair Strauss.
Yes.
Councilmember Foster.
Yes.
Council President Hollingsworth.
Yes.
Councilmember Rink.
Yes.
Chair Lynn.
Yes.
Chair, there are 5 votes in favor and 0 opposed.
Okay, wonderful. The motion carries, and the committee recommendation that the council confirm the appointments will be sent to the July 7th, 2026 City Council meeting. Congratulations, and thank you again to both our folks in person and online.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now move on to our fourth item of business. Will the clerk please read agenda item 7?
Agenda item 7, an ordinance relating to council land use decisions, amending sections 2376.050, 2376.062, 2505.680 of the Seattle Municipal Code to clarify processes for council land use decisions for public hearing, briefing, and discussion.
Okay, as the presiding officer, I am now opening the public hearing on Council Bill 121215 regarding the council land use decisions legislation. Clerk, how many speakers are signed up for this public hearing? Do I have it? I have the sheets. Okay, let's see. We have 1, 40, 44, 61. Looks like we have approximately 61 in person. Do we know how many we have online?
We have roughly 38 online.
38 online. Okay. So each speaker will be provided 1 minute. So hopefully we will have time to hear everybody this morning. I really appreciate everyone coming here this morning for all the advocacy and interest in this important legislation. We've also gotten a number of emails and heard from folks in other ways as well. There's a lot more that I would like to say, but I think it's important that we hear from you. So I'd like to just move on and hear directly. So with that, let's see. Clerk, I'll hand this over to you to present the instructions.
Speakers will be called in the order of registration. The public hearing registration will remain open until the conclusion of this public hearing. The same public comment rules apply to this public hearing, except that there will be 2 minutes of public comment. A 10-second chime will be your notice that it's time to wrap up comments. Speakers' mics will be muted at the end of the allotted time. Public comment related to Council Bill 121215, the council land use decisions legislation, is only being accepted at this public hearing. Speakers are asked to begin their comments by saying their name. We'll proceed with in-person speakers first, and then with our remote commenters. Our first commenter is Alicia Ruiz.
We're going to do 1 minute, correct? 1 minute? Oh, it's 2 minutes? Okay. Has to be 2. Okay. Oh, okay. So 2 minutes. So we'll see if we can get through everybody. We have quite a few. If you are able to limit your comments to less than 2 minutes, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Let's proceed.
Good morning, Chair Lynn and members of the committee. My name is Alicia Ruiz, representing Habitat for Humanity, Seattle, King County, and Seattle, King and Kittitas counties, and I'm here again in support of Council Bill 121215. To put it simply, this bill closes a loophole that costs Seattle time it doesn't have. State law sets firm deadlines for updating our land use code, but administrative SEPA appeals of legislative actions have repeatedly pushed those timelines back. This is a layer of review state law never required in the first place. Nothing about environmental protection changes here, and full SEPA review stays exactly as rigorous as it is today. What goes away is a second redundant appeal step that other major cities in our region, including Bellevue, Tacoma, and Everett, have already eliminated without incident. We ask you to think about what a few months of delay actually means on the ground. It means a family that qualified for an affordable home today is still waiting next spring. It means a construction timeline slips into a new fiscal year and financing has to be renegotiated. These aren't abstract costs. They are the consequences of unnecessary delay that lands on the backs of the people we serve every day. Habitat urges this committee to pass Council Bill 121215 without delay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Sean Knudsen, followed by Woody Wheeler, Jason Weil, Ken Davis, and Riley Avron.
Good morning, Chair Lynn and members of the Land Use and Sustainability Committee. My name is Sean. I'm a Seattle resident and a volunteer with Habitat for Humanity. I'm here to urge you to pass CB 121215 out of committee and send it to the full council. This bill is a common sense procedural reform. It does not roll back environmental protections nor public process. Environmental review remains intact. What it does do is remove a self-imposed administrative appeal process for legislative land use decisions that state law does not require and that has added months of delay to needed housing policy updates. For families partnering with Habitat, every delay matters. Waiting longer for housing means staying longer in unstable or unaffordable situations. Personally speaking, as someone hoping to start a family in this city, I want my kids to grow up in Seattle believing they can become the teachers, nurses, or public servants that we need while actually affording to live here, rather than being priced out. Redundant process does not build homes, and it does not improve environmental outcomes. Seattle should join King County, Bellevue, Tacoma, and Everett in streamlining these legislative SEPA decisions. Please pass CB 121215 to the full council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Woody Wheeler, followed by Jason, Ken, and Riley.
Hello, I'm Woody Wheeler. I have a small business called Conservation Catalyst. I'm a guide, an author. I'm a nature person. You might ask me to leave right now. But this bill would create an end run around a vital democratic process that protects our environment. There is no need for it. Appeals are rare, averaging just 2.7 per year, with less than one housing-related appeal annually over the past 10 years. Meanwhile, Seattle's natural heritage is shrinking. More than 7,000 trees have been removed since 2023. That was the year the tree ordinance went into effect. Seattle ranks 5th, shamefully, in the nation for urban heat islands, even though we're the 18th largest city. We can do better. 400 people died during the June 2021 heat wave in King County. Let's not forget that. That's recent history. Mayor Michelle Bordeaux of a city west of Montreal, Canada, recently established a very strong tree ordinance, which I wish we had. Here's what he said. When it comes to fighting climate change, our biggest ally is trees. It is time for Seattle to make this realization, vote no on this bill, pursue instead affordable housing. I support that personally through my money. I do volunteer bird walks for low-income housing. I believe in it, but that targeted is what we need, not just housing that's mostly marketplace housing. Let's make that clear. Vote no on this bill. Pursue instead affordable housing while protecting the trees that make our city healthier, cooler, and more livable. We can do this.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Jason, followed by Ken, Riley, Cindy Shuttler, and Sarah Lappas.
Hi, good morning, council members. My name is Jason Weil. I am a homeowner and resident District 6, and I am here in favor of CB 121215. This bill would streamline the approval of affordable housing, which is urgently needed in the city. Seattle declared a state of emergency about homelessness 13 years ago, and unfortunately, our homeless population continues to rise to record levels. This is not acceptable, and what's also not acceptable is bad faith delays of vitally needed affordable housing. Time-consuming appeals delay creation of housing for our neediest neighbors, and I'm really grateful to City Council for reducing the overhead to create the affordable housing that our city needs. Thank you, and I encourage you to approve this bill.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Ken Davis, followed by Riley.
You Ken?
No, I'm not.
I am.
Yeah. I thought I heard my name. Okay.
Hi, I've lived in Seattle area for around 30 years in the Green Lake area, and I'm opposed to this bill. I want to ask you, have you ever seen the government make a mistake? Have you ever seen developers make a mistake? Have you ever made a mistake? This bill will remove the ability of the people to point this out before you make the mistakes. When you fast track this development, you're fast tracking mistakes. I look at Ballard. Ballard's a disaster. It's an environmental disaster. In Green Lake myself, what's happened over in the Roosevelt area has raised the temperature. As the previous speaker said, the heat island is just dramatic in Seattle. We need to reverse this. We need trees. We need to be able to look at these developments and challenge them if they need challenging. The only reason I can see that you want to do this is to increase developers' profits, because development's going to come. We can do it right or we can do it wrong. I lived in the New York City area. I moved from the East Coast to here to get away from that. And when I see Seattle changing into something that resembles New York City, it's very sad to see that we're going in that direction. So I hope you vote against this policy.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Riley, followed by Sandy Shetler, Sarah Lappas, and Martha Bashir.
Good morning, Council. My name is Riley from West Seattle. I want to first recognize that this form of public comment is profoundly unrepresentative and biased towards people like me who are able to spend their weekday morning here. That said, I urge you to pass this bill. We don't let one person waste months on pointless process when it comes to the budget or the police contract or World Cup preparations. But when it comes to allowing more homes, we do. To the worker forced to choose between groceries and rent, to the person on our streets evicted and with nowhere to go, to the family who finally throws in the towel and moves somewhere they can actually afford, we say to them, you can wait another 6 months while we twiddle our thumbs, right? Because that's all these appeals are, a waste of time, a way to run down the clock. Building more homes in our cities is unequivocally good for the environment. Recognizing this, the state has already permanently eliminated these appeals, as have King County, Bellevue, Tacoma, and Everett. As further evidence, Seattle's appeal process has never resulted in a substantive change to the EIS, much less to the actual plan the EIS analyzes. The status quo is not neutral, and wasting time to preserve it is unacceptable. Please pass this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Sandy Shetler, followed by Sarah Lappas, Martha Bashir, and Suzanne Grant.
Good morning. Yes, I'm Sandy Shetler with Tree Action Seattle. Messaging on this bill claims that SEPA appeals are redundant because, I quote, Seattle's a national leader in environmental protection and coexistence between humans and the beautiful nature that surrounds us. But the data tells a different story. Our air is worse. The EPA reports that our fine particle pollution, not from wildfires, jumped over 17% in the last decade, and it's 10% higher than similar-sized cities. We're overheating. Climate Central ranks us 5th in the nation for urban heat islands. Our trees are disappearing. City data shows that we lost over 7,000 trees in 2.5 years. Most of them had trunks over a foot in diameter. This shows that this is not the time to be patting ourselves on the back and eliminating the public's oversight of the environment. We need to fix what's broken. Please reject 12-12-15. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.
Next up, we have Sarah.
Oh, yeah. Hi. Hi, Council. I'm Sarah, SPS parent, D6 resident, and project director for the Robert Eagle Staff Middle School Mini Forest. And I'm here to strongly urge you to reject CB 12-12-15. The EIS for the comp plan wrongly assumes that replacing our healthy mature trees with new trees is equivalent. This is a serious and dangerous error. It takes 4 decades for saplings to achieve similar cooling benefits that mature trees provide today. Low canopy Seattle neighborhoods are already 20+ degrees warmer than canopied neighborhoods on hot days. That's the difference between life and death in a heat wave. New plantings don't combat urban heat island impacts and increasingly can't survive them. It was citizen review that flagged this egregious error in the EIS. It's us, your constituents, who are your allies in this process, flagging dangerous mistakes like this one before they become entrenched in law. This bill would remove that critical check and further amplify the already outsized influence of lobbyists who advocate for policies that benefit their bottom line at the expense of the environment and the people who live here. Please reject CB 12-12-15. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Next up, we have Martha Bashir, followed by Suzanne Grant, Steve Rubenstein, and Kathy Kirchhoff.
Yes, hello, good morning, good afternoon. What is it? Still morning, yeah. The rationale behind this 121215, an amendment that would eliminate environmental appeals on all city land use legislation and any city building project, is like Trump's claims about voter fraud, an exercise in deception. Trump's crusade isn't about the nation's election procedures, it's about disenfranchising voters. In this case, CB 121215 isn't about reform. It's about taking away the one avenue ordinary people have to address critical environmental issues the city is ignoring. The environmental impacts of the comp plan are enormous. Reduced heat islands because of clear-cutting thousands and thousands of mature trees, upzoning neighborhoods across Seattle that have already absorbed generations of disinvestment and displacement, and thinking market housing will somehow appear. Worsened stormwater runoff because of the loss of mature trees and subsequent polluted waters for the region's dwindling iconic southern resident orcas. Add rules that allow 90% hardscape coverage on residential lots with no setbacks, and anyone longing for a livable city where density coexists with the natural environment can kiss that dream goodbye. The sponsor of the amendment, Eddie Lin, alleges that appeals cost time and money, but environmental appeals are uncommon. In fact, Seattle averages just under 3 appeals per year, with only 8 of the 27 total appeals over the past decade involving housing. Yes, many Washington state jurisdictions allow citizen environmental appeals. Lynn correctly notes that Tacoma, Everett, and Bellevue do not, but Spokane, Kent, Olympia, Vancouver, Snohomish, and Pierce counties do. I urge you to not approve Council Bill 121215. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm Suzanne Grant. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? How many of you have witnessed the dismembering of a 100-year-old tree as its limbs crash to the ground to make way for a parking space or yet another $1 million house that could have been redesigned? SDCI and you, our paid city council members, have not done enough to protect our natural resources. Our trees, mature trees, our orca. You need volunteer citizens to help, to ask about environmental impacts, fire safety, utility, and traffic impact, etc. Banning appeals erases accountability. We did not elect you to take away the voice of the people. Stripping the most accessible community review mechanism removes the last formal check available to residents, especially those with the least political power. Appeals give residents an independent review before environmental assumptions are locked into law and before trees are removed or projects begin. Please retain the current requirement that all council-originated bills have a director's report. I am standing up for our right to protect.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Steve Rubicello, followed by Kathy Kirchhoff, Frida Worlet, Orla Concannon, and Kim Butier.
We still need a better Seattle. The first 2 speakers for this public hearing were the only ones that were not shooed downstairs to get in line. And of course, they spoke for. I've seen this before, but it's been a while. I'd just like to say that as a citizen, I find that contemptible. And it's been done by consuls before, but I don't think we should continue the practice. Many years ago, I attended a public hearing. I thought I would be the first speaker, and they brought out a page and a half of opponents who spoke before the people who showed up at the time appointed and when the sign-up sheets were supposed to come out. Seattle is still capable of that love of developers. Getting more to the subject, getting rid of SEPA is like in your house putting a penny in the fuse box. And Seattle has been more than willing to put pennies in the fuse box when big-time developers want something. They've always been a very big giver to people with zoning power. It appears they are also giving to state legislatures and national at this point. Seattle has not experienced better housing or cheaper housing under their tutelage. The developers are much like their institutes are like the Tobacco Institute, the Petroleum Institute. Profit is what they're for, not for good cities. I suggest we not go by putting a penny in the fuse box. I think we ought to listen to citizens. And I hope that politicians get judged for their deeds, not their words. And there will be a day for all of us. Now, my hope also is that we can make less expensive housing. Think about raising MHA fees.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Next up, we have Kathy Kirkhoff.
Hi, I want you to reject CB 1212. Well, anyway, Bill 121215. I want us to be able to have a seat at the table. This is the last way that we can. You can see that there has not been that many times that it's been enacted. As a person who grew up in Seattle, I understand how much the environment has changed. The Olympic Mountains have less snow on them in the winter than they used to have in the summer. Urban heat is getting much higher. I live in Ballard. I'm about 7 blocks from the library. I'm old. The heat really affects me. I feel a tremendous difference from the blocks where there's no shade and the ones that do. We're talking about you building a city that provides for people, a place to live, but also a place to survive. If you create a city that is not survivable in heat, you will not save the forest and the lands out there. People will leave because they want to survive. You saw that during COVID. The people who had the means got the hell out of town. So don't create a city where the poor are going to die. This is drastic. And the master builders have a huge seat at the table. Please give the rest of us a seat at the table.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Frida Willett,
Sarah.
followed by Orla, Kim, Hans, and Augustine.
Apologies, I didn't hear you the first time or didn't understand you. I apologize for that. So my name is Fritz Wallet. I am a homeowner in Seattle, and my house in the Ravenna area has 2 heritage trees, and they are now undergoing a very expensive process to put a conservation easement on them to keep developers from cutting them down. So anyway, and I'm here, of course, to vote no, or to urge you to vote no on Council Members Lynn's proposal. It seems to me that initially, this is an overreaction to Jennifer Godfrey's successful lawsuit against the city. And that's a ridiculous reason to take away a right. As a matter of fact, during the 18 years I was in the city attorney's office, we didn't take away rights as far as I know. We either preserved them or we expanded them. In the other, we can leave it to the other Washington to take away rights, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So Jennifer Godfrey's lawsuit went all the way to the Court of Appeals, and the Court of Appeals ruled against the city and told us clearly that we were misinterpreting the statute, the requirements of SEPA, and that we had to equate and prioritize, along with housing, salmon, trees, and water. So what's wrong with that? That's a message we got, and we should do it. And finally, yesterday's Times nailed it. Come on, folks, you all read it. The Times just nailed it. And no, there's not much. The delay is mostly something of a figment of a particular council member's imagination. Vote no on the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Orla, followed by Kim, Hans, and Augustine.
Hi, good morning. My name is Orla Kincannon. I'm asking the council to oppose 12-12-15. The bill is vague and does not address how removing the environmental appeal process will actually protect our environment. And sadly, the bill is even derogatory in tone, reminiscent of the Trump administration. There is no weaponization at hand. You have concerned citizens who are volunteering a democratic right. Banning appeals removes accountability and muzzles the public, the constituents you were elected to serve. Good decisions depend on good information. We need checks and balances. The hearing examiner appeal provides the only independent and affordable check on the environmental review process before legislation is adopted, as the State Court of Appeals ruled in the ORCA appeal. And on that note, the ORCA appeals is backed by 12 leading environmental organizations in the city and 2,500 concerned citizens. An appeal that could have been avoided if city staff had addressed the environmental concerns in the 10 months leading up to the filing. As for reference on the bill of endless appeals, most appeals are thrown out as mentioned earlier, and on average, over the past decade, there have been 2.7 per year. I do indeed believe in affordable housing and density, but eliminating a public right is a drastic step that does not solve the problem at hand. Please reject 12-12-15.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council. My name is Kim Butler, and I live in District 4. I have lived in Seattle my whole life. I was born and raised here, and I have definitely seen the changes that we are making here in the city. Today, I am urging the Council to vote no on Council Bill 12-12-15. It is critical that as we develop the City of Seattle, we keep this opportunity to protect the environment by allowing a system of checks and balances that ensures that human mistakes made in analyzing the data and the environmental impact statements are not voted into law without allowing further independent review. The answer is not to eliminate the appeal process. The focus needs to be on refining the environmental impact review process to ensure accurate assessment of our most valuable environmental assets. And if and when mistakes are made, an efficient hearing examiner process which allows for public oversight to further investigate and protect these most invaluable and critical environmental resources. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Hans, followed by Augustine, Caroline Villanova, and Ann Sims.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hans. I'm 17 years old, and I go to Bishop Blanchette High School over in Wallingford. As I watch Trump take away my rights at a ridiculous pace, it is scary to see a Seattle City Council member trying to take away my rights as a young person to be able to file an environmental appeal on my own. My democratic right to due process. When my right is taken by the generation before me, think about how my generation will think of you. Reject CB 12-12-15.
Thank you.
My name is Augustine DiPietro. I'm 16 years old, and I live in Georgetown, which is one of the biggest heat islands in all of Seattle. Please do not take away my right for environmental appeals. It is almost my only way to affect my community. Even today, just coming here, I had to see one of the largest trees and the only shade producers in my entire neighborhood be ripped out. And if this appeal process is gotten rid of, it will take away my right to support my community. You are saying that this bill will protect the climate, and that is not true and is misleading the public. Do not take away my right to protect my community. Please reject this bill.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Caroline.
Thank you, council members, for the opportunity to comment. My name is Caroline Villanova, and I'm the Director of Government Relations for Seattle Parks Foundation. We support addressing Seattle's housing needs, but we do not believe that CB 121215 is the right approach. As an organization focused on parks and public spaces, we are concerned about the bill's broader impacts on building a livable, climate-resilient city. Type 5 decisions also apply to park-related projects where strong environmental review and public process are essential. The bill removes the neutral, independent checkpoint on environmental review before legislation is adopted, which would reduce transparency and risk flawed analysis. Appeals are infrequent, like we've heard, and public comments alone are really not enough. Improving the hearing examiner process would be a better solution. Adequate and comprehensive environmental analysis processes, including SEPA, are critical for those who have lived here since time immemorial. Under a thorough and meaningful environmental review process, sovereign tribal governments in the region are included to make sure that there aren't adverse impacts to irreplaceable cultural resources, including those within cities' parks. Seattle's growth must really not come at the cost of our environmental and tribal cultural resources. We urge Council to reconsider this bill and pursue a stronger path forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Ann Sims, followed by Jessica Dixon, Steve Zemke, Laura Livingston, and Andrew Crocker.
Hello, Council. I am a member of the city speaking to you against this proposal. We are standing on unceded land of the Duwamish. We are colonizers, and I am trying to listen to their wisdom. If we don't understand that we are part of this earth, that all the trees, all the green spaces that we have left, and we're in the 4th year of drought. If you look around, all our cities' trees, garden trees are dying. If we don't understand that that is our body, then the hardscape, the building are not gonna rescue us. We will collapse, and City of Seattle needs to take a completely new stand and a new approach to dealing what is happening in the world. We cannot continue as we have. What Seattle has done, I can see with my own eyes. The little bit of housing that people can afford is on streets that aren't really going to be contested. They're already treeless and barren. What's being built is for rich people. It's ugly, there's no design review, and all of these houses in 20 years will be in a landfill, which is also not sustainable. So I ask you, listen to the elders, listen to the people that should be here and should teach you and all of us how to steward land. What is happening here is sad and is the wrong direction in so many ways. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Jessica Dixon.
Hi, and my name is Jean Bateman, and I'm here to oppose this bill today.
I'm so sorry. Jessica Dixon is up next.
Pardon me? Sorry.
We have Jessica Dixon up next.
Hi, I'm Jessica Dixon. I'm a resident of District 6, Greenwood, and thank you so much for being here today. I'm calling on the City Council to reject Council Bill 12-12-15 and to preserve the public's right to challenge land use decisions under SEPA that affect the air, water, and overall health and well-being of the residents of our city. The appeal process is challenging. It's definitely not something anyone enters into lightly, but it provides relatively low-cost access for the average citizen to an expert forum. In the end, with so much at stake, Seattle's communities deserve accountability when it comes to major land use decisions, not empty promises and dismissiveness. Vote no on Council Bill 12-12-15.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Steve Zemke, followed by Laura Livingston, Andrew Crocker, and Pamela Adams.
My name is Steve Zemke. I'm speaking on behalf of TreePack and Friends of Seattle's Urban Forest. About 20 years ago, I was the campaign director for Initiative 547, which was the Keep Washington Livable initiative, which was the precursor to the bill passed by the legislature the next year to put the comprehensive plan in place in our state. Would note that in terms of the current comprehensive plan, the delays seem to be coming more from your process, City Council, and the mayor being a year behind schedule, and that is not at all being issued here in terms of what you're dealing with. I urge that you retain the current requirement that all council-originated bills have a director's report. Council Bill 1212 would eliminate this requirement for council land use legislation while continuing it for the mayor's office. Director's reports for comprehensive plans, comprehensive plan amendments, and land use legislation need to continue to be mandatory for both the consul and the mayor's office. There should be no difference between the consul and the mayor in terms of this requirement. We need to ensure that departments have to comply with the proposed legislation, review it, and they have their input. If it is a problem having to defend it, that's a problem for the bill itself. Do the director's reports for both. Secondly, urge that you expedite and reform rather than eliminate the current hearing examiner process regarding comprehensive plans, EIS, comprehensive plan amendments, land use appeals, et cetera. Lengthy delays that are involved in building more housing. Options: move the appeals automatically to the front of the line to be resolved. Put others on delay if this is so important. Say it needs to be dealt with first by the hearing examiner. Second, require that all appeals, amendments, et cetera, be resolved within a short period of time, either 30 days, 60 days, whatever. You can do this, amend it rather than repeal it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I'm next.
Yes, Laura.
Laura, yes. I'm Laura Livingston, and I'm a resident of Crown Hill. I'm urging a no vote. I'm a researcher for Save Crown Hill Cemetery. It's a group of neighbors and lineal descendants working to stave off residential development in the 123-year-old historic urban graveyard established in 1903 by the city of Ballard. Even after providing the legal documents demonstrating cemetery dedication, we're still in full force in the southwest corner that were handed to me by the Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation and given over to SDCI during the public comment. SDCI kept the short plat application moving forward. Only when we alerted state archaeologists about imminent desecration of this land did SDCI issue a correction. I wonder what would have happened if we had found this information after the application was approved, what avenues we would have had. And while this may be a tangential example, it demonstrates that public participation in land use decisions is difficult enough. Please do not remove this important avenue for appeals when oversight fails. I did email additional details of this example to the council, and I urge you to vote no.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Andrew Crocker, followed by Pamela Adams, Josh Friedman, Jeff Paul, and Jean Bateman.
Thank you, Chair Lynn and members of the committee. My name is Andrew Crocker. I'm from D2, and I'm speaking in favor of 121215. We've heard today that the bill opens a one-way path to environmental destruction, or that it's tyranny in action. Neither claim is true. The environmental review process still happens, and the EIS still gets written. What the bill does is close an administrative loophole that most jurisdictions in Washington don't even offer. Bellevue doesn't, Tacoma doesn't, King County doesn't. Seattle is the outlier, and we're seeing the cost of that. The comp plan is now in its 5th year, with phase 2 pushed to 2027 because of only 2 lawsuits. Folks here may frame this as democracy in action. I believe it's the opposite. A process where anyone with an attorney can stall legislation affecting 800,000 people is neither democratically nor environmentally sound. Every year we delay dense housing near transit is a year that we push families into longer commutes, longer drives, more roads, and more sprawl. The sprawl is what is adding to our PM 2.5 pollution, our heat islands. It's threatening our trees, our water, and yes, the orcas. Advance this bill and let our democratically elected council get back to planning the city's future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Pamela Adams.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Pamela Adams, AKA the freelance beaver detective of Seattle. And for beavers may chew down trees, but Seattle shouldn't chew through due process. For the past several years, I've been spending a lot of time documenting urban wildlife, beavers, coyotes, and whatnot, especially in Longfellow Creek, and seeing the return of wild coho salmon. So nature is coming back to our city. And then a few years ago, since I'm new here, 4 years, I discovered beavers were one of Seattle's most important watershed eco-engineers, was missing on the checklist for wildlife with developers. And I called in at a meeting, and that I was told it was simply an oversight. And so oversights do happen. And that's exactly why, we need a public appeals and independent environmental review. I mean, this is not the appeals process is not new. It's been part of Seattle's normal feature for generations. So I've heard people say that the process only works for wealthy residents and who can afford lawyers. And if that's true, let's reform the process and make it more accessible to ordinary people. Because eliminating the hearing examiner appeal does not create more access. It removes access. So developers have lobbyists and private meetings. Trees, salmon, wetlands, watersheds depend on ordinary citizens to speak for them. And I say just please don't go forward with CB 121215. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela.
Next up, we have Josh Friedman, followed by Jeff Paul and Gene Bateman.
Council members, for the record, I am Josh Friedman, a lifelong Seattleite living in the Seward Park neighborhood of District 2. Despite rude assertions that have been made by some commenters at past meetings, I am not being paid by anyone to be here. Housing delayed is housing denied. Despite what some conservative media outlets will tell you, nobody is getting rid of SEPA. SEPA is the State Environmental Policy Act. It is a state law. We are not currently in Olympia. This body cannot remove state law. Allowing redundant appeal processes also does not save the environment. Endless appeals are very profitable for land use lawyers, but they don't help give the city any housing. Redundant appeal processes also don't save orcas or beavers. Any scientists will tell you that orcas need cars off the road to save their food chains from automotive runoff. Allowing more housing in our urban areas gets those cars off the road. The orcas do not care about whether our most privileged neighborhoods remain the way they always have looked, or whether those privileged neighborhoods are instead asked to make some changes in order to make their resources available to some new people. In American politics and economy, it is natural for people who have a moat around their little slice of heaven to try to keep that moat wide and deep. That rage is a rational economic response by individuals, but that doesn't mean it is the right policy position for our community. Thank you for doing the right thing with this legislation.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Jeff Paul, followed by Gene Bateman, Alex Lofton, and Judy Ecolitis.
Hello, Council. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Jeff Paul. I'm the co-executive director of House Our Neighbors and a renter in D3. I'm here to speak in favor of this legislation. And honestly, I'm here today because I'm remarkably frustrated. I am an environmentalist. It's what I've done my entire life. It's how I got into politics. And I'm also an environmentalist who is young enough to be acutely aware and get to look forward to climate collapse happening within my lifetime. At the core of my politics is that acute awareness that the world will be uninhabitable for billions of people, meaning millions of people will die within my lifetime without drastic action. According to every environmental scientist in the world, we have to massively reduce the amount of time that people spend driving in cars. They destroy our atmosphere, their tires and brakes pollute our waters. Seattle is just one city, but we must do our part to move with urgency. The only way that we can do that is build densely. Public transit only works when people have dense cities. It's the most important single drawdown that we can do, and we needed to start 5 decades ago. Honestly, this legislation doesn't even come close to enabling the city to move forward with the urgency needed. The Seattle process will continue, and it will still take years for us to make a decision to add a quarter of the density that's required. And I'm just so frustrated that we're here talking about just how much it's so important that one person can stop the entire city from making decisions about what is going to happen with our land use and our ability to meaningfully address the climate crisis. That is like the reason why I'm not having kids. Like, this is so insane. Sorry. Please take the environmental crisis seriously. Please take the housing crisis seriously that is killing people every single day and pass this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gene Bateman.
Hello again. I'm Gene Bateman, and I'm here to oppose this legislation, 121215. I'm a business owner. I'm a property owner. I've been a resident in the downtown commercial core for 35 years. I support increased housing. In developing policies, however, here with the city, it is critical to establish a way to officially include all voices. One element at the heart of these questions, I came here originally to talk to design review. I was sad I couldn't comment on this one, so I'm happy to be here commenting on this one as well. But one of the elements at the center of this is, what can one person, one property owner, build and design and remove within the context of other property owners in the neighborhood, in the city, and the region? Without a seat at the table, both in design and at this point, in appeal. The city is saying, please buy a small business here. Please buy a home here. Please invest. Please pay taxes. And once you have done this, you will have no voice in what happens next. Please take time to oppose this bill and to bring a seat at the table in design review. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Alex Lofton, followed by Judy Akalitis, Nikki Yukon, and Nathaniel Howard.
Thank you, Chair Lynn and council members. My name is Alex Lofton, a proud resident of the CD in District 3, up here today as a part of our growing community of residents with For Seattle. I urge you to pass Council Bill 121215. Man, sitting here today, I'm overcome by how much change weighs on all of us. The Seattle area I grew up in is not the Seattle of today or the one that's coming tomorrow. We have and will and should continue to be the welcoming place for anyone who wants or needs to live here, especially in this era of an increasingly threatening federal administration, where our fellow citizens elsewhere have nowhere else to go. All of us in this room are at one point got the privilege to live here, a privilege that we must share. And to do so requires us to continue to adapt to the changes we are all grappling with. I've spent the better part of my professional life tearing my non-existent hair out, trying to make housing more accessible in expensive cities, especially ours. One reflection from my work is that so much of what stands in our way is out of our hands. But one thing that's squarely in our hands is how we build, whether our process is thoughtful and efficient or just redundant. This bill removes one such step. Over 10 years, these appeals delayed decisions by months and changed the outcome twice. Every environmental protection stays in place. We can build housing and protect the environment. To delay housing pushes people outside our urban settings and forces them to drive. Let's stop losing homes to the clock. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Judy.
Hi, good morning. The city's own data shows that there are only 2.8 of these appeals per year. Councilperson Lynn, you claim this bill will stop the endless lawsuits and appeals. As a librarian and a teacher who teaches facts, your claims are demonstrably false. You are pushing this in the name of delaying affordable housing, which is false. This bill denies affordable access and a voice to environmental appeals by ordinary people, like my kids. And Snohomish County, Pierce County, Kent, Spokane, Olympia, and Vancouver maintain this access to appeals. Seattle is not an outlier, as you purport it to be. It is part of a broad Washington consensus that community review of environmental decisions matters. In my opinion, this bill is a huge distraction from real pro-environmental work. I believe in density and affordable middle housing, but this bill should not be a scapegoat for that. Please reject CB 121215. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Nikki, and I'm so sorry about your last name. Yonko. Followed by Nathaniel Howard, Jean Trent, and Amanda Lynn.
So I just want to urge the council to vote no on CB 121215. This bill is an outrageous grab for power by, developers, industry, who are only intent on maximizing their profits. You should vote no for the following reasons. The bill will make it expensive and virtually impossible for the average Seattle resident to appeal an inadequate EIS. If you don't want appeals, then have an adequate EIS. The director's report for CB 121215 documents, as the previous speaker said, 28 appeals in 10 years. This is not an avalanche of appeals. As Eddie Lynn has said that Seattle is an outlier, I work for Pierce County. I'm an environmental reviewer, and I can tell you, we have appeals. We have SEPA appeals. So Seattle's drive for density should not usurp good government and the ability of the average person to help forge the future of their city. It is ironic that while we are celebrating the 250th year of a nascent democracy, Seattle is trying to squelch the ability of its residents to hold their government accountable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, council members. Try to make this work for me. Hey, my name is Nate. I'm 33 years old. I live in a dense area of Capitol Hill. I rode my bike here. If I didn't do that, I probably would have taken the G. Just a virtue signal for a sec. The council's land use committee report shows that less than 3 SEPA appeals are filed in a year on average. The 2025 hearing examiner's report showed SEPA appeals as a small fraction of the total caseload. Additionally, removing citizens' rights to appeal through SEPA would shift that forum to the Growth Management Hearings Board or Superior Court, both of which are prohibitively expensive as processes, especially considering that districts 2 and 3, where most density-driven canopy loss has occurred, are also the lowest income in the city. Removing citizens' rights to appeal environmental impact statements through SEPA is therefore disenfranchisement. Moreover, it's unnecessary. Seattle was 3rd in the nation for new housing development from 2010 to 2020, and this has persisted in the 6 years since. I should also mention, I moved here in 2018. Like I said, I'm a renter. The only way I can afford to live in my Capitol Hill apartment is by sharing it with my partner. I'm happy to do that, but you know, it's sort of an obligation as well as a decision. Lastly, the city has had at least 38 private meetings with the developer lobby this year alone. Taken together, these facts paint a picture of a measure intended to grease the wheels for developers at the expense of the concerns and rights of citizens. I would ask you please to vote no on CB 121215. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Jean Trent and Amanda Lynn.
I think you said Jean Trent, right? Yes. Hi, good morning. Thank you for hearing me. I can't do any better than all these people are doing. What I find in common is almost everybody is an environmentalist. Everybody wants this city to stay as clean and healthy as it can be. But I'm afraid there's some confusion about what interrupts that process. I came here 50, 60 years ago, really getting older. And I came here because this city was much healthier and more beautiful than where I came from in Southern California. And I noticed that all these tourists that are in town right now, when they're interviewed, they're just interviewed all over the place. They don't say, wow, this is a really exciting city. It's got great activity and big buildings. They're saying it's beautiful. And I think that that's why we're here. And so everybody here cares about that, I understand. But I think this bill, 1215, which I oppose, is somehow showing this false equivalence that somehow or other, by people being involved in the process, being patriots like me, I think I'm a patriot. I'm not a NIMBY. I sold my house and gave the money to my kids to buy houses. So I think that this is a false choice. I think this can be done keeping citizens involved and keeping the beautiful city that we need and making it possible for people to live here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, council members. My name is Amanda Lynn. I'm an organizer with House Our Neighbors and a citizen in Capitol Hill. Over the past several months, I've worked alongside hundreds of Seattle residents who are advocating for a comprehensive plan that creates a thriving green city. Many of those people, most of those people, do not have the luxury of time off work to be here or the privilege of knowing how to access these spaces. If you knew me personally, you would know that I come from tree protectors, people who chain themselves to trees to save them. Environmental protections are not abstract for me. And neither are the very real outcomes of these unnecessary delays on densifying our city. Look, I'm no champion of private development. But that's not who is most impacted by these redundant appeals. It's folks like Habitat for Humanity, our community land trusts, and our affordable housing developers that are managing complex capital stacks and navigating immensely complex bureaucracies already. And it also affects the orcas, who will continue to suffer from years of sprawl. Administrative SEPA appeals on legislative land use decisions don't strengthen environmental protections or magically save the orcas. Instead, they become weaponized to delay policies that have already gone through extensive public review and environmental analysis. And again, they add to that ongoing sprawl, harming the orcas instead. While appeals may be small in number, they are massive in delay. Seattle is in a housing crisis. Every month we delay housing means higher rents, longer commutes, and more neighbors pushed into that sprawl. Ensure future housing plans can't be held up by the same procedural loophole. I urge you to support this legislation so we can spend less time rehashing good policy and more time building the homes Seattle desperately needs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Jennifer Godfrey, followed by Dave Gloger, Kathy Minstu, Susan Fedor, and Brendan Derblatter.
Thank you. So I would like to suggest that we streamline before banning. I am not paid to be here. Before filing the ORCA appeal, I attended 10 months of public meetings to correct the errors in the environmental impact statement regarding clean water, endangered species, and tree hydrology losses. None were corrected. I would have much rather have resolved these before appeal. If the city fails to fix mistakes through public comment, the pre-decision appeal makes the most logistic and accessible sense versus waiting until after the damage is done. The process can be shortened. We watched Trump gut NOAA when he didn't like climate science. In the Court of Appeals, the city admits they don't want any process to be sure that the city has accurate info in the EIS. The state asked, why not? Streamline before eliminating. Other hearing examiner processes done in a large quantity of Washington cities, most Washington cities, are completed in under 60 days. How many council members had time to read the thousands-page-long environmental impact statement? Or the stormwater code? There's so much to do, it makes sense you can't analyze it all and need those directors' reports to be provided and unbiased. We've deregulated the comp plan, the stormwater code, while gutting the enforcement branch. So how does that make sense? The city filed to delay 3 times in the Court of Appeals, including right now. This is the 30th day when they could have come back and said, okay, on 27 days ago, and expedited this process. The choice to wait until 2027 was made by the city based on their own schedule for council recess, budget schedule, and December break, as you know. Appeals aren't preventing converting the thousands of empty high-rise units here into housing. So in my spare time, I play soundtracks for Dota, World of Warcraft, Halo, Gears of War, and more, just like the forest giants in those games that were healed. We can heal this environment and densify. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Dave Gloger, Kathy, Susan, and Brandon.
Good morning, Council. My name is Dave Gloger, and I live in District 5. I want to read to you from documentation for this bill. It has been alleged that appeals have been filed in order to slow council consideration of legislation that was intended to support the development of affordable housing. Where is the proof for that? Why is the city putting false allegations in documentation? The council's going to make decisions based on allegations? Shame on the city for publishing a statement like that. People file appeals because they care about the environment, plain and simple. If these appeals slow down development for affordable housing, then why is Seattle one of the top cities for producing more housing? And why are there 13,000 apartments listed on places like apartments.com? We can take a little more time. We can look at the environment. Councilmember Lynn has stated that environmental appeals have resulted in time and financial expenses for the city. While this is accurate, it does not tell the full story. For instance, the current appeal against the EIS for the One Seattle plan could have been completed last year. However, the city's attorneys have attempted to dismiss the appeal on technical grounds rather than addressing the merits of the case. Yes, it is the city that is responsible for the delays and the associated costs, while the appellant would be happy to be done with this. Legislation like 121215 should not be based on allegations, innuendos, and implications. If you want the facts, Read the articles that were in yesterday's Seattle Times and the South Seattle Emerald. I'll leave them in the comment box for you. I urge you to reject 121215.
Thank you, David.
Good morning, Chair Lynn and members of the Land Use Committee. My name is Kathy Minch. I am here in opposition to Council Bill 121215 for all the reasons you have heard so far today. I am a 34-year resident of West Seattle living 1 mile from Puget Sound in a neighborhood of smaller houses and trees. I spent 30 years working for state and local government and with community on all aspects of restoring and protecting Puget Sound watersheds for salmon, orcas, wildlife, and people. I am in disbelief you are considering removing the right of citizens to make environmental appeals when they notice actions harmful to their environment. In a democratic society, citizens' rights are as important as developers' rights. For many years, Seattle has been a regional and national leader in sustainability. Passage of this bill would be one more hammer to the quality of life in this city on the Sound. I urge you to vote against Council Bill 121215. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I have the right comments, sorry. Good morning, Susan Fedora, District 1. I was born and raised here, and I no longer recognize the values of this city. I ask Council to reject Council Bill 121215. Seattle is not an outlier in the SEPA appeal process. Olympia, Spokane, Kent, the counties of Snohomish and Pierce all maintain administrative SEPA appeals. King County maintains a more nuanced process, but it still exists. If there's concern the process takes too long, consider reforming it, but please don't revoke the one affordable mechanism citizens have to challenge what they find to be insufficient environmental review, whether it be for housing or for data centers. If the EIS reflects a thorough review based on best available science, we wouldn't need to exercise the appeal process to begin with. Removing this process eliminates accountability to the public, and the decisions that impact us are increasingly made behind closed doors. The claim was made that removing this process would allow more time to focus on ways to address climate change. Simply building housing near transit isn't enough. The city needs to address the continued extraction and disruption of our ecosystems. It's been scientifically proven that trees remain the most effective defense against climate change, yet we're losing our biggest remaining trees to more parking spaces the city doesn't need. During the 2021 heat dome, 117 Seattle residents lost their lives as a direct result of extreme heat. Since then, the city's permitted the removal of thousands of mature trees and added more pavement. Not only does concrete have a significant carbon footprint, it exacerbates the deadly effect of high temperatures. To achieve climate resilience, we need to start by strengthening the tree ordinance and joining the DPAVE movement. Increasingly, community members are finding they have no voice and no choice with the continued degradation of our environment. Please maintain the citizens' right to sit a SEPA appeal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Brandon Derblatter, followed by Jonathan Warren.
I'm a car-free renter in Seattle. First, I'd like to note the likely bias you'll hear in public comments at 9:30 a.m. on a weekday. It's hard for working renters to make it at this time, but easy for richer retired folks who are much more likely to own homes in Seattle. I'm tired of dense housing projects and green transportation infrastructure, like bike lanes being blocked by SEPA appeals. I strongly support the council bill intended to remove the appeal path to the Seattle hearing examiner. We have enough other protections in place, including public comment, where people can make their voices heard if they have concerns. The appeal path has long been abused in bad faith by people who claim to care about the environment, when all they really care about is slowing down new housing projects. These projects can be delayed for a year or more until the hearing examiner makes their decision. Many people have brought up how few appeals have been made, but a small number of appeals on huge projects can have a massive outcome. For example, one of these appeals was on the city's comprehensive plan, and then it got delayed for a year. That's the plan that decides the entire city's zoning policy, so a single appeal can effectively block thousands of units of housing that would otherwise be permitted by an update to the comprehensive plan. Over half the carbon emissions in the city of Seattle come from cars, nearly twice as many emissions as the next big emitter, air travel. If we really do care about the environment, we would do everything in our power to reduce car emissions. One of the best ways to do that is to build more dense housing so people don't have to drive to the city in order to work or shop. Occasionally, trees need to be cut for these projects, but the number of trees cut per unit of infill housing is at least an order of magnitude smaller than the number of trees cut per unit of suburban sprawl, which is the alternative that gets built if housing can't be built in the city. Where 3 trees might be cut for a 50-unit building in Seattle, 30 or even 300 trees might be cut for 50 single-family homes with big grass lawns and driveways. Also, Seattle has policies in place to replace any removed trees. Please vote yes on Council Bill 121215. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Jonathan Warren, followed by Ruth Williams.
Good morning. Jonathan Warren, professor, University of Washington, International Studies, small-time developer, big advocate of social housing, District 4. I'm here to oppose 1212, what is it, 14? Should know by now. For a couple of reasons. First, in this moment of democratic backsliding, I think it's a big mistake to pile on at the city level. You know, we're all a bit freaked out by what's going on at the national level, and this, even if it doesn't have that effect, I think it has the impression of having that effect. So I think, first of all, it's a huge mistake to do at this moment. Second, it seems that this is being done in the name of creating affordable housing. There's really no evidence that this is contributing to the lack of affordable housing. I don't have time here to offer all the stats and details, but I'm at your disposal if you want to discuss it in more detail. But there really is no hard evidence that some of these environmental concerns and delays are really what's creating the crisis around housing. This is some myth, this abundance myth that's a kind of Reaganomics philosophy that's been picked up by segments of the left, that somehow regulations around the environment are the cause of our housing crisis. It's really going to be solved by public investment, such as social housing programs, not by eliminating heritage trees and gutting green spaces. Finally, our mayor said it's about bread and roses. Keep in mind, we want the roses too, right? Not just the bread, even if this were to give us affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, and what he said. I am speaking to the very disappointing 12-12-15. I'm Ruth Williams for Thornton Creek Alliance, and Thornton Creek is largely in D5 in Seattle. The summary and fiscal note repeats, with zero substantiation, the totally unsubstantiated allegation that people who appeal SEPA decisions to the hearing examiner are working to avoid having affordable housing in their neighborhoods. But we can substantiate that it was Mayor Wilson herself who held her taller, denser, faster meeting and excluded the BIPOC and environmentalist communities. Then the director's report, with again zero substantiation, alleges proponents of this bill see more value in removing the SEPA appeal hurdle and adopting legislation that may have significant environmental benefits, especially legislation that would allow more housing. Gotta love our allegations. Newsflash, we all want more housing in our neighborhoods. We want it done correctly. We need to look at the big picture and protect what makes our neighborhoods healthy. And here's another revelation. Mere humans don't get to cherry pick what is and isn't environmental protection. We don't get to cherry pick what is and isn't a useful response to climate change. It's a YIMBY proposition if ever there was one. We need all hands on deck, and no amount of alleging, smearing, or silencing informed voices will get us there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Chair, that's our last in-person commenter. We will now move on to our remote commenters, starting with Joshua Morris.
and council members. My name is Joshua Morris. I'm the Conservation Director at Bird Protect Seattle. We're a conservation nonprofit with nearly 20,000 local supporters. We oppose Council Bill 121215. Although presented as a means to accelerate housing production while protecting the environment, this bill does neither. Instead, it reduces opportunities for equitable civic participation and limits the ability to identify and correct environmental problems before policies are finalized. Land use planning is complex with consequences that are difficult to predict. When mistakes are high and outcomes uncertain, we should welcome scrutiny. Instead, this bill restricts appeals to the Growth Management Hearings Board or to courts, costly legal actions that place meaningful participation beyond the reach of most of us. Weakening oversight is not efficiency, and efficiency at the expense of equity is not acceptable. We support more affordable housing, but eliminating administrative appeals is far removed from real constraints on production, including land costs, labor, financing, and permitting capacity. We urge the Land Use Committee to reject Council Bill 121215 and instead pursue reforms that improve efficiency while preserving accountability, equity, and rigorous environmental review. Thank you.
Next up, we have Sarah Clark.
Chair Lynn, members of the Land Use Committee, my name is Sarah Clark. I'm a lifelong resident of D6. I'm here today testifying on behalf of the over 2,500 members of the Seattle Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce, respectfully asking you to support Council Bill 121215. Seattle's business community has been consistent in our advocacy on housing policy. In order for us to build the amount of housing we need across all types and at all income levels, we must deploy an all-of-the-above approach. Redundant reviews like those this bill proposes to remove from the city's FEPA review process contribute to delays in the much-needed progress to develop the housing of all types our cities desperately needs. For Seattle's local businesses, the persistent lack of affordable housing deepens our struggle to recruit and retain workers, which is costly and adds uncertainty to our local job market at a time when we can't afford more. This bill is a win-win-win. It upholds environmental safeguards, optimizes city administrative processes, and enables developers of all types to build the housing at the pace our regional crisis requires. Thank you for your leadership and commitment to creating an inclusive community.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Marilyn Smith.
Thank you, council members. Members of Seattle's government don't like the court's opinion on this issue, which upheld the public's right to challenge the adequacy of the city's environmental review under SEPA. So instead of looking at the actual issues, they rushed in to eliminate that public challenge. You claim these bills will protect the environment when in fact they undermine the importance of honest environmental review. Councilmember Lynn, and by the way, I apologize for misspelling your name in my written comments, you claim that these bills will, quote, minimize suburban sprawl, unquote. The state legislature has already required our suburbs to eliminate single-family zoning. So if anything, we will see denser housing in most of King County. Those state laws apply not just to our neighboring cities and suburbs, but even to towns with less than 25,000 people. The bills before the committee today don't, as you claim, encourage dense housing. The state and city, by their legislation, are already doing that. These bills are designed to prevent careful review of the effects of zoning changes on the environment. Is it possible the sponsors are afraid of what such reviews might disclose? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Alan Fortgang. Alan, I see that you're unmuted.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Aline Fortgang, and I'm speaking on behalf of Humane Voters of Washington. I'm asking you not to eliminate the Citizens Environmental Appeals process by voting no on CB 121215. Without this process, our precious trees and our ecosystem could be in peril. Does Seattle want to be like Tukwila with a tree canopy coverage of at 6%? Or do we want to strive to have a tree canopy coverage more like Bellevue at 40%? Currently, we're at 28% and trending down, not up. Mature trees, as you know, are vital for clean air, the healthy waters of Puget Sound for our struggling orcas, and for a cooler, more beautiful city. The Citizen Environmental Appeal process gives the public a legal way to ensure environmental harms are reduced. Your vote matters, so please protect our environment and the environmental appeal process and vote no on CB 121215. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Greg Smith.
Hi, I'm Greg Smith, and I live on Capitol Hill. I'm not a developer. I'm an ordinary citizen. I moved to Seattle a few years ago to work in a program for homeless people. I'm calling to support CB 121215, and I agree with what others have said in support of the bill. But I want to draw attention to another aspect of this, and that is homelessness. We know that homelessness continues to increase, and we just got a report recently that homelessness increased yet again last year. We know that not building enough housing in an area is the ultimate cause of homelessness. We also know that SEPA is impeding the building of housing in a timely manner. We need to reform SEPA so we can get more housing built and reduce homelessness. Please pass CB 121215. Thank you.
Next up, we have Angela Chabot.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Angela Chabot, and I oppose Council Bill 121215. I'm a lawyer, a concerned citizen. I live in District 3. I love this city. I moved here 23 years ago because of its trees and livability, and I am glad to see that my representative on the council, Joy Hollingsworth, is on this committee. This bill, as you know, does away with SEPA appeals to a city examiner. What problem is this proposed legislation trying to solve? This process has been in place for approximately 50 years. In 1971, the Washington State Legislature passed SEPA to require environmental impacts to be weighed during local decision-making. In 1973, Seattle created the Office of the Hearing Examiner to absorb appeals that used to go straight to court. And in 1977, the office transitioned into an independent quasi-judicial entity. There is less red tape to handle appeals of environmental assessments under SEPA at the city level than to force appeals into state court. And these appeals are not an impediment to building affordable, smart, and climate-friendly housing in Seattle. To the extent the appeals slow the process, is it an appeal or a faulty environmental assessment the core problem? If the city did its job well on environmental assessments, then there would not be any need for an appeal. If the city does not do its job well, there must be accountability. The best venue for that is to start with the quasi-judicial forum before the city hearing examiner. This keeps costs down and streamlines the process for the challenger as well as for the city. If this legislation is enacted, environmental appeals will take even longer in state court because of the rigid formal way that all lawsuits proceed. I am concerned that this legislation's intent is to erect an obstacle to public input on a foundation environment.
Thank you. Next up, we have Lois Martin.
Good morning. My name is Lois Martin. I am a lifelong Central District resident and educator, and I'm here to oppose Council Bill 121215. If the city's environmental impact statement is unimpeachable, why eliminate the appeal process? A sound EIS does not need to be protected from challenge. It withstands challenge. The data proves the existing system already works. Of 28 SEPA appeals filed between a 10-year period, 2016 to 2026, the vast majority were dismissed or withdrawn, averaging 52 to 69 days. Only cases with legitimate merit move forward. The system filtered out weak claims on its own. Instead of defending the adequacy of the EIS, proponents have resorted to name-calling, labeling appellants and those in opposition as weaponizers and bad actors. They call us privilege. That is not a defense of the EIS. That is deflection from it. It takes real privilege to discover a housing crisis only when it affects your own life choices. While Black, Indigenous, and working class communities have been living that crisis for generations. Silencing critics instead of letting due process play out is not a democratic value. It is a tactic we have watched the MAGA movement use against the courts, the press, and anyone who challenges those in power. Legislating silence is not democracy, it is suppression. The communities with the most at stake in rigorous environmental review are low-income residents, renters, and communities of color who have historically borne the environmental cost of inadequate review. Those communities fought to stay in the city. They should not be told their right to challenge inadequate environmental review is an obstacle to progress, and progress for whom? If the city's environmental review is sound, prove it in front of the hearing examiner. Let the evidence speak. Reject Council Bill 121215. Seattle's communities deserve process, not promises. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Rivers Dysart.
Hello, Seattle City Council. My name is Rivers Dysart, a longtime Seattle resident, District 5. Please vote no on CB 121215. This bill would eliminate the public's only affordable way to challenge inadequate environmental review before major legislation and city projects are approved. The problem isn't environmental appeals, but rather inadequate environmental impact statements and a hearing examiner process that needs reform. Ensure that environmental impact statements assess impacts accurately from the start. Instead of eliminating appeals altogether, reform the hearing process so appeals are resolved in under 60 days. Appeals are rare, averaging just 2.7 per year over the past decade, with less than one housing-related appeal per year. Eliminating an important public right is a drastic step disproportionate to the problem. Past appeals have uncovered serious errors and previously undisclosed information that improved public understanding and council decision-making. Appeals give residents an independent review before environmental assumptions are locked into law and before trees are removed or projects begin. Appeals do not hold up housing production. If they did, Seattle would not be consistently leading the nation in producing housing. This bill entrenches the power of the developer lobby, which in the first 3 months of this year had 40 meetings with city leaders, 38 of them private, conversations that translate into proposed legislation and influence on our elected officials' decision-making process. By contrast, there were no documented meetings with environmental organizations. Citizens' environmental reviews are our chance to push back on that power through our own checks on government. Please preserve the public's right to independent environmental review by voting no on CB 121215. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Rachel Nathanson.
Hi, my name is Rachel Nathanson. I've heard Councilmember Lynn in previous committee meetings say that with this bill, the city will just have to be sure to do stellar environmental work to protect our city. But someday, new council members will be sitting in your seats. New staff will be preparing planning goals and documents. A new mayor will preside. New staff will analyze and write environmental documents. Do you want to entrust these yet unknown decision makers with watered down environmental practices? I mean, what might be their aims? What decisions might they make that will make you cringe as you read the morning news? For 2 years, we've been battling the Trump administration policies that are taking away our democratic rights, including environmental protections. Removing Type 5 legislative decisions from the current appeal process does just that, takes away environmental protections. I urge you to vote no on CB 121215 and protect our Emerald City. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Ruby Holland.
My name is Ruby Holland. City Council newbies want to tear our city up and make it unrecognizable without oversight, without the right of appeal, or even a robust conversation. They do more due diligence when buying a car. They want to rush things through before we notice glaring problems and or corruption. We need only look at Councilmember Ringsfeld Regional Homeless Authority to see examples of her messy work. She doesn't want a knee-jerk reaction to that mess, but she wants a quick knee-jerk reaction to upzoning that will forever change Seattle. The same guy who wrote the failed MHA wrote phase 1 of the comp plan, fully expecting to be reelected as mayor so he could carry on his plan of stealing working class lots for his real estate oligarchs. That baton has been passed to Rinkin Foster, who don't want oversight. Governor Inslee, the real climate change guy, left us an environmentally friendly model for growth, HB 1110. Anything beyond that needs to be examined with the utmost scrutiny. The appeal process lets us do that. Please keep it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have William Waldman. William, please press *6. William Waldman. Okay, we will move to our next speaker and come back to you, William. Our next speaker is Joanna Cullen.
Hi, this is Joanna Cullen. So I'm here to say to reject Council Bill 121215. Please preserve the public's right to meaningful environmental review. Require that any future legislation affecting SEPA and its appeal rights is accompanied by a full bill, the text and in multilingual community engagement with a demonstrated connection to specific, measurable environmental incomes. Seattle's most vulnerable communities have carried the cost of inadequate planning long enough. We deserve a process, not promises. I live in the Central District, and stripping the most accessible community review mechanism while upzoning neighborhoods across Seattle that have absorbed generations of disinvestment is not equitable environmental planning. It is the removal of the last formal check available to us with the least political power. The communities that have fought to stay in the city did not do so only to be told that their right to challenge inadequate environmental review is an obstacle to progress. Equity invoked to justify the elimination of the tools communities need to defend themselves against equitable outcomes is not equity. Also, I heard somebody say that King County does not have environmental review. That is not true. Thank you.
Next up is Ethan Stager.
Good morning, members of the Land Use and Sustainability Committee. My name is Ethan. I'm a Seattle renter, a District 4 resident, and someone who cares deeply about our outdoors and wildlife. I'm calling to urge you to pass CB 121215 out of committee and send it to the full council. This bill is a common sense procedural reform. It does not roll back public processes or environmental protections. Environmental review stays intact. What it does remove is a self-imposed administrative appeal process for legislative land use decisions, one that state law doesn't require and that has added months of delay to needed housing policy updates. Thousands of Seattleites, many of them at work right now and unable to attend meetings like these, are counting on this council to deliver abundant, affordable housing. That's why they voted for many of you. Only a handful of appeals are filed each year, but they cause outsized delays to projects the majority of this city is relying on. Appeals aren't where most of Seattleites make their voices heard. Voting is. Please pass CB 121215 and deliver on the promises we elected you to keep. Thank you, Chair Lind, for having the courage to bring this legislation forward.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Betha Gooch.
Hello, my name is Betha Gucci. Greetings to council members. I'm a longtime resident of Seattle. I'm urging you to reject this ill-considered Council Bill 121215. I want to say that it is every citizen's right to an accessible environmental review process that holds city leaders accountable. This is a critical path to counteracting the overbearing influence of developers and financiers and their closed-door meetings. The people seem to be the only voice standing up for trees, green spaces, and a healthy environment. The taller, denser, faster development forces claim the appeals process stands in the way of affordable housing. But to quote from the bill itself, that's housing that is affordable to a range of income levels. That's a very broad definition, and I don't think we're talking about solving the housing crisis for the lowest income families here. Pitting trees and environmental health against low-income housing is a smokescreen to hide unfettered development. It doesn't need to be an either-or choice. We can do both with smart design. Let's redefine progress to include smart stewardship of our life-giving environment. Please stand up for sensible development and a healthy environment. Vote no on stripping this right from Seattle citizens. And thank you for this opportunity for an ordinary citizen to speak out.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Jesse Simpson.
Hey, good morning. I'm Jesse Simpson from the Housing Development Consortium, here to support Council Bill 121215. Seattle has a deep housing shortage and affordability crisis. We need more housing, and we need zoning changes to legalize that housing faster. Right now, opponents of housing can file administrative delays to a hearing examiner, delaying these zoning changes for months, even though the vast majority of appeals are dismissed or withdrawn. That kind of delay is exactly what just happened with centers and corridors, now pushed into 2027. Fundamentally, this bill is good for housing and good for the climate. More and denser homes near transit means less sprawl into forests and farms, and less the car pollution that actually threatens salmon and orca. When process is used to block or delay housing in cities, the result is worse for the environment, not better. This bill doesn't weaken environmental protections. Critical areas, stormwater, and tree protection rules all remain in effect, along with strict energy and building codes that ensure new buildings are more efficient and sustainable. The city will study environmental impacts in advance of council votes on land use regulations, and anyone who wants to challenge the city's legal analysis can still do so at the Gross Management Hearings Board or the courts. It simply removes one redundant appeal mechanism, bringing Seattle in line with other jurisdictions and fundamentally in line with the intent of recent state reforms to ensure SEPA is not weaponized to block or delay housing that is good for the environment. Please vote yes on Council Bill 121215. Thank you, Councilmember Lynn, for bringing this forward.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Lucy Flanagan. Lucy, please press *6. Lucy Flanagan, please press *6. There we go.
Sorry. Hi, this is Lucy Flanagan, and I am a resident of Seattle for almost 70 years, District 5. I want you to vote against 12-12-15. We're called the Emerald City, and we should celebrate that by preserving what we have left of old Seattle. It's why people want to visit the Pacific Northwest. Trees take a long time to grow. We forget them when they're gone, and in so doing, we incrementally lose what used to be what was great about Seattle. So eliminating old trees warrants a thorough review. As our representatives, you are in a position to shape the decision-making process. Eliminating the people's voice would make life easier, cheaper for the review panel, but that is not the goal. That's the temptation. If I may say so, listening to the people who elected you is your job. The issue is not about environment versus housing, it's about process. The process may need streamlining, but throwing out the public's voice would be a drastic move. Don't make that mistake. Please vote no on 12-12-15. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Leisha Kobe.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I am a transplant. I've been here for 12 years, and I left my home state because of poor city planning. It is simply too hot to live there now. They tore down the trees for tech business and blindly rushing housing development. Today, it is going to be 49 degrees in my hometown of Austin, Texas. So take this from someone who knows exactly what happens when a city forgets the public voice in development. Seattle loves to boast about its environmentalism. We have a world-class zoo. We brag about hiking trails, our pollinator spaces, and our waterfront. At the waterfront opening, Chairman Leonard Forsman reminded us that we have a responsibility to preserve this land for future generations. Our citizens back this up, pouring thousands of hours into local paid and unpaid activism. Yet this council is entertaining CB 121215, a bill that eliminates the $85 SEPA appeal process, walking out regular people and handing the keys to people with unknown intentions and wealthy lobbyists. This bill forces a deeply cynical compromise to its citizens. It asks us to trade our affordable avenues of activism for the promise of affordable housing. You are preying on people who need affordability, weaponizing our housing crisis to demand that we trade away rights just for a roof over our heads. You cannot market Seattle as a progressive green city when silencing the citizens who keep it that way. Proponents of this bill claim that this appeal process is redundant. It is only redundant if the city always follows its steps perfectly. We know it doesn't. Without this very process, the city would have approved development on the historic Crown Hill Cemetery. This appeal process is the only reason the city and developers were forced to catch critical mistakes in developing a cemetery. There are people and speakers here that want their children to own homes.
Next up, we have Irene Wall.
Good afternoon. My name is Irene Wall, and I have lived in District 6 for over 50 years. And I have been an active citizen serving on my neighborhood planning committee during the city's first comp plan. I have also been an appellant who was successful in appeals before the hearing examiner on land use actions which resulted in changes to ordinances before the council acted. This is how it is supposed to work. So I ask Councilmember Lynn to withdraw this misguided council bill. Its purpose seems only to cynically silence opposition and eliminate legal avenues which are rarely used, but which can head off errors and reveal important facts. This change will do nothing to prevent the construction of affordable housing. The speakers today from Habitat and others did not provide any evidence that SEPA appeals have delayed or prevented any of their projects. The director's report for this bill also did not provide any evidence that SEPA appeals of non-project legislative actions have delayed or prevented affordable housing or contributed to homelessness. SEPA appeals have also not prevented the construction of market rate housing. Nearly 100,000 new housing units have been built or permitted in the last decade. SEPA is not preventing increased density in Seattle, which is exceeding its targets for new housing assigned to us by the Puget Sound Regional Council. The bill will not prevent sprawl or save forest anywhere else. Seattle has no authority to make land use rules for any other jurisdictions. Regarding the appeal for more dense housing, that's already happening apace as single-family homes are raised along with their trees and replaced with more expensive townhomes. Seattle Land Use Trust has just opened 2 large affordable condo projects in Finney Ridge. They were not prevented by.
Next up, we have Richard Ellison.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Richard Ellison. I'm a resident of District 4. In the 1990s, I was writing environmental impact documents in Seattle. I oppose CB 121215, banning public appeals on SEPA decisions. The loss of affordable housing in Seattle is rooted in the 1990s decisions by the Seattle City Council trying to break the stagnant Seattle economy by allowing developers like Paul Allen to tear down affordable housing in South Lake Union and elsewhere. And so began the tech boom. With the tech bros came a spike in housing costs as the tech bros could afford expensive market rate housing, and little affordable housing was built across the city to replace low-income housing. The superseded supposed grand bargain by Mayor Ed Murray and the City Council continues the giveaway to build expensive housing and a dribble of affordable housing. Now the Council wishes to make amends by its decades of bad decisions by removing environmental appeals on any SEPA decisions as a supposed panacea to the housing crisis. This housing crisis is in part your making. It may be a mild day in Seattle, summer day in Seattle, but in Europe, it is an extended heat emergency with temperatures over 100 degrees across the continent. The Trump administration would have us believe that the climate change is a hoax. Can we appeal Trump's gutting of the environmental oversight? Is 2026 the year that Seattle City Council banned SEPA appeals in the Emerald City? This blatant act is reminiscent of the policies of the current Trump administration, which is gutting all environmental protections and environmental reviews. Like in 2003, when the Trump administration allowed mountaintop strip mining waste spoils to be dumped directly into streams, that was okay. Back in 2001, when President Bush rejected the Kyoto Protocol to control CO2 emissions as fatally flawed fundamental ways.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Lisa Crozier. Hi, Lisa.
Oh, hello. Should I read mine now? Okay. Sorry. Good morning, Chair Lynn and members of the committee. My name is Dr. Lisa Crozier. I'm a Seattle resident and an advocate for dense, walkable urban housing. And I'm here today to urge this committee to halt and reject Council Bill 121215. In addition to being a resident, I'm also an author on the 5th National Climate Assessment. I want to state clearly what the peer-reviewed science has shown. Tree canopy is not a luxury amenity. It accounts for up to 50% of a city's thermal regulation. When you clear cut a lot and push canopy cover below a critical 40% threshold, you single-handedly drive a 7 to 9 degree spike in localized air temperature. A chapter in the MCA explicitly documented how historical land use decisions have already systematically stripped tree cover from frontline communities, causing some neighborhoods to experience temperatures upwards of 13 degrees warmer than other areas of exactly the same city. These factors directly worsen the urban heat island effect and drastically increase the risk of urban flooding and toxic stormwater runoff into our streams. By allowing 90% hardscape allowance across the entire city, this bill locks in a two-pronged regressive tax burden. First, a public health crisis. Extreme heat is the deadliest natural hazard in the nation. Stripping mature canopy guarantees our historically underserved neighborhoods will become permanent concrete heat islands, directly escalating heat stroke, cardiovascular failure, and preventable deaths. Second, an economic tax on working families. When you destroy free natural canopy cooling, you shift 100% of the thermal burden onto mechanical cooling. Working class tenants will face a steep regressive economic burden in the form of soaring electricity bills just to keep their apartments safe to live in. Let's be entirely clear. Making Seattle hotter, deadlier, and more expensive for marginalized communities is exactly the opposite of what your constituents want. True progressive policy builds housing while preserving the natural infrastructure required for survival. We do not have to choose.
Next up, we have Bonnie Williams.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hello. This is Bonnie Williams. I'm from D4. I'm here to oppose CB 121215. This legislation is very alarming because it would remove the ability to appeal environmental impact studies that serve as an important safeguard, helping ensure major decisions on comprehensive plans, area-wide rezones like the One Seattle Plan, and development regulations that undergo independent citizen scrutiny on impacts that affect Seattle citizens for decades. The Washington courts ruled on June 1 that the Seattle City's public hearing examiner dismissed the ORCA appeal in error, and then it must first go to Superior Court and then back to the city's hearing examiner. The court defended Godfrey's legal right. The court said timing of the environmental review under SEPA is critical. One of the basic purposes of an EIS is to ensure that local governments consider total environmental and ecological factors to the fullest extent when taking major action significantly affecting the quality of the environment. That was yesterday's Seattle Times article. A pause and reflection on new numbers of what actually has been built and evaluation of phase one before more layers of rezoning are added would be beneficial now. Appellants provide additional information to the hearing examiner during the appeal process with an in-depth analysis and expert testimony before rezone legislation is passed at their expense. Lynn insults citizens who file appeals, calling anyone who files predatory. Appeal cases have merit, and citizens have real environmental concerns as the true motives on citywide rezones. The current appeal process allows appeals to be filed before legislation is passed. Lynn and OPCD instead want to defer appeals to the growth management or Washington courts, which is much more difficult and expensive.
Next up, we have Sanders Latour.
Hello, my name is Sanders Latour. 32 years old. I've lived in Seattle for 9 years and a month about. These vote to pass bill out of committee. It's kind of ridiculous that I've been here for only 9 years and I've been spending at least 4 years going to meetings after meetings about the comp plan and about the EIS, saying please pass more housing, please build more housing. We're still here doing this again. Council canceled all of its meetings for this year regarding the comp plan because of the appeal. It's just crazy that we're going to be stretching into 2028. We're finishing comp plan that was supposed to be done in 2024. Please pass this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Mary Hodder. Mary, please go ahead. Mary, I can see that you're unmuted. Please provide your comment.
Hi, this is Mary Hodder. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Okay, let me get started. I urge you to reject 1221 article. This bill is written like it was paid for by developers, slanted against democracy with derogatory comments about the citizens. Our trees and heat islands are removals, our sewage systems that cannot handle the current load, resulting in sewage going into Lake Union, need democratic oversight for any proposed changes before publication and after. Our critical grid for the EIS cannot handle the One Seattle plan with 350,000 units added to our housing capacity. 50% of Seattle's carbon footprint is construction and construction-related transportation. The World Economic Forum says the #1 thing we can do to lower worldwide carbon footprint is to reuse existing buildings. We have 100 million square feet of office space downtown sitting empty for years. We have 40% vacancy rates in our luxury apartments, those built in the last 10 years and going for market rate. And the One Seattle plan has no requirement for affordable housing. This removing appeals is not the answer. The answer is to require affordable housing. The kids have been told a fairy tale story that if developers get everything they want and removing the appeals process for EIS is part of it, they will get cheap housing, even though developers only build market rate $1 million townhomes in Seattle. If we want affordable, we have to require it, not remove democracy, to balance the environmental problems of our city, which we must mitigate. I want to see a vacancy tax on empty offices and empty market rate housing. I want to see a registry of empty market rate housing. There are other things we can do to get and address the affordable housing crisis we have had for.
Thank you.
Next up, we have James Wu. James, I see that you're unmuted. Please provide your comment.
Hello. Oh, hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Dear council members, I'm a PhD scientist working in healthcare, and I'm calling in strong support of Councilmember Lynn's bill. I work every day on people's health, and I'm acutely aware that delays in housing kill, and that our status quo has an increasing body count. It's in the life expectancies of renters, like I was for the majority of my life, in fractured communities burning their life on freeway commute hours, and in the continued planetary destruction. Every weaponized delay costs lives. You've heard today from property-owning tree reactionaries that the status quo works just great for them. They speak about life and death risk of heat islands while safely sheltered in homes they've lived in for decades that have also gone up hundreds of % in value. The most vulnerable people to heat are housing insecure people, and what they need most are homes. These reactionaries say also, please do not change their democratic rights, quote unquote, to appeal. It's very interesting that these rights are just one way, appeals back towards the status quo. Where is our public right to study the environmental impact of not building densely enough, the impact of not having housing fast enough, the years and the life expectancy lost? In what venue do I get to bring a suit for damages to my life and my friends' lives against predatory delays. Those do not exist. They've never existed. Those democratic rights do not exist by design. I fight every day for people, for their health, and for everyone to thrive, not just people who were fortunate enough to buy housing 3 decades ago in Seattle. Please pass 12-12-15, which already does not go far enough or fast enough to meet the scale of our global and planetary challenges. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Ann Knight.
This is Ann Knight, a longtime resident of Seattle Central District. I oppose 12-12-15. Over the past 5 decades, I've been involved in city projects, both as an employee of the city and as a community activist. What I have learned in that time is the importance of everyone's voices in building a city that balances the needs of all. It is easy for a city agency to think that it understands all the impacts of a project, but it is important to incorporate different perspectives in determining the final outcome if the goal is to create a city that serves its full community. Section F is particularly concerning as it impacts projects well beyond just housing development. Having a democracy rather than a dictatorship for our government requires the ability for citizens to appeal CEPA's decisions to the hearing examiner. This is the only level that regular members of the public can hope to effectively participate in the complex process and hope to have their concerns heard. Much better projects result from a full airing of the impacts and alternatives. Without an appeal process to the hearing examiner, there is no incentive to fairly and completely present the impacts. Please do not take away citizens' ability to ensure Seattle is the best city it can be for everyone. Vote no on the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have David Haynes. David, please press *6.
Hi, thank you, David Haynes. It should be noted that the small-time landlord self-dealing with conflicts of interest on the council sabotaged the comprehensive plan with restrictions on development to make sure no one builds back better, so landlords and certain homeowners can take advantage of the supply and demand squeeze. It also could be said that the new red line for discrimination and hatred of other people trying to build back a better home originates from people who weaponize the tree ordinance, SEPA, parking mandates, and the character of an antiquated home, all to stop other people from building back better, as if the self-dealing landlords on council with conflicts of interest who already sabotage the comprehensive plan with restrictions to make sure no one builds back better are using the Tree Action Group and others to intimidate the rest of council, while those who claim that orcas are going to be suffering and somehow Trump's to blame for all this is irrational. If you all really care about housing and the environment, it's time to tear up all the asphalt side streets and rebuild sustainable greenery, walkable neighborhood blocks with advanced housing that goes higher without the road rage driving through, allowing strangers and your neighbors to drive through, seeing how you're living. Get rid of the restrictions the landlords put into the comprehensive plan to self-deal and to cater to the same people who showed up to nonstop conspire against younger generations needing a better choice in home and real equity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council member, there are no more present speakers.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So that was our last registered speaker to speak at this public hearing. The public hearing on Council Bill 121215 is now closed. I'd ask our representatives from Central Staff to join us to present and answer any questions if Council may have. Council Central Staff, could you just introduce yourself briefly and see if we have any questions from
Liz
colleagues?
Wilson, Council Central Staff.
Thank you, Liz. And if not, we can move on to the next item of business, and we'll try to keep it brief. I know we're running late here. If we could move on to our eighth item of business, will the clerk please read agenda item 8?
Agenda item 8, an ordinance relating to land use and zoning, adopting temporary regulations previously in ordinance 127309 for 6 months to exempt housing projects that meet mandatory housing affordability requirements using on-site performance units from design review, and allowing permanent applications for all housing subject to full design review, the option of complying with the design review pursuant to administrative design review, temporarily suspending mandatory and allowing voluntary design review of proposed development in titles 23 and 25 of the Seattle Municipal Code, consistent with Chapter 333, Laws of 2023, and previously in Ordinance 127309, and amending Sections 2341002 and 2341004 of the Seattle Municipal Code for briefing and discussion.
Okay, thank you. Can you please introduce yourselves? And then if you are able to provide a brief overview, that would be great. And then we'll go to council questions.
All right, Keto Freeman, Council Central staff.
Good morning, Crystal Torres, the Design Review Manager with the Seattle Department of Construction and Inspections.
Christina Postlethwaite, SCCI's Legislative Government Relations Manager.
Thank you so much. Please proceed.
Maybe I'll just say a few words to kind of situate the committee. This is an initial briefing on Council Bill 121243, which would reenact some expired interim development regulations for the design review program. It would extend those regulations for an additional 6 months. As I mentioned, those regulations have lapsed back in May or perhaps late April. There will, of course, be a public hearing on this bill. That public hearing is scheduled for July 30th. You have a memo from me with some background dated June 29th, 2026. There'll be a further issue identification memo in advance of the July 30th public hearing. I'll turn it over to SDCI to walk through interim provisions. We need to share this. Okay. Share. All right.
Thanks, Keto.
There we go. Okay. All right.
All right, thank you. All right. Okay, so, all right, today we're going to go over the interim design review legislation, what it is and why we need it, and then just briefly touch on next steps as well. All right, so this is related to the design review program. What is the design review program? It is only a piece of the permitting process. It supports larger city goals and a vision for livable urban environments. It gives the public an opportunity to participate in the development of their communities, and it provides flexibility for new development that's not otherwise permitted by the land use code. Why we're here. The House Bill 1293 required changes for all design review programs in the state. Those included to make the design guidelines clear and objective, to limit the design guidelines to exterior elements of the building design, and also to limit design review meetings to 1, and not reducing project density below what is otherwise permitted by the zoning code. The goal of the interim is to fill in the gap between the existing not being compliant with those state required changes while we work on the changes. The interim will allow us to be further in compliance with the state. Also, it will provide flexibility for development and affordability or housing affordability, and allows us time to conduct additional stakeholder research. The interim legislation would suspend required design review, and in place would allow applicants to opt into the program so that they can seek departures, again, that are not otherwise accessible to those projects. It also extends the exemptions for affordable housing that are providing on-site affordable housing, and they would also be There's also additional departures or adjustments that are available for those projects that are exempted. That piece was also expired with previous legislation. So this interim legislation would again fill in that gap and allow those projects to take advantage of those affordable housing exemptions. The goal with the permanent legislation is to bring the program into compliance. That would include simplifying the design review process, simplifying and raising the design review thresholds, updating and adopting new design guidelines, and also including a limit to just one public meeting. However, while we are working on the permanent legislation, we do need something in place, which is why we're here today. We have had some progress on the permanent legislation, and this would allow us the additional time to continue on with the development of that before bringing it back to council. All right, and then again, just to summarize the interim legislation, that would suspend required design review, allowing projects to opt into the program, to seek out departures, and also continues the affordable housing exemptions. That is it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Colleagues, any questions? Vice Chair or Councilmember Rink.
Thank you, Chair Lynn, and thank you all for this overview. Just a brief question, because you mentioned the work you all are doing around permanent legislation. I understand that we've done 2 previous extensions to stay compliant with state law, and now we're looking at a 3rd. So can you unpack a little bit more the work that you all are doing on permanent legislation and the timeline for that and what's going into informing that?
This would actually be the first extension of the legislation. So, so we worked on this last year, and unfortunately, the extension, the interim legislation did expire. So this is us, we would say, seeking an extension. However, it's lapsed. So this would be kind of bringing back that interim legislation. And we've been working hard to figure out how we can best engage stakeholders in this process. You know, we want stakeholder input in helping figure out the next steps that define the design review within the city of Seattle. So that work would continue, and would really continue to build up. Our focus right now is we have projects that are waiting for this to go back into effect. They are queued up and ready to go, and we don't want to keep them waiting any longer, because those are units that we need across the city.
That is a good clarification. We need this to be able to issue permits, so essential, yes.
Certainly. Thank you for clarifying both those points around the renewal and extension components and what happens if we do not renew. Would love to continue the conversation on formation of permanent legislation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Rink. And colleagues, any other questions? Okay, so it sounds like we'll have some next steps, including a public hearing. Colleagues, I also encourage you to arrange briefings if you do have any other questions or concerns. Look forward to both sort of further sort of hearings and briefings on the interim, and then as well, I think probably the more interesting part will be that permanent design review legislation, and look forward to further engagement on that. Thank you very much. Okay, colleagues, we have reached the end of today's agenda. It is 12:03. Just want to provide a brief comment again to thank, the room is mostly empty now, but thank everyone for coming today. We heard very passionate comments on both sides. I just want to say that I don't question anybody's authenticity around the value of the environment. We heard very clearly that our community cares deeply about the environment, also care deeply about housing, and we need to figure out a way to do both. We will have further discussions on Council Bill 121215. That is a procedural bill. It does not affect any of our substantive environmental protections or requirements. I will have more to say about that, but it is already 12:04 p.m., and so I will not sort of take up more of your time. Colleagues, I just want to sort of pause here if anybody else has any further anything to bring before the committee. Okay, hearing no further business, thank you again. We are adjourned. Our next scheduled meeting is July 15th at 9:30 a.m.